Hello, internet weirdos and degenerates. Welcome to the war zone. I'm Scruffy, and it is Scruffy Tales, despite the changes. So, still same old Scruffy Tales. And I'm on the move. I'm not at home with my regular computer, so therefore sound quality is off, and I'm not using my usual backgrounds and everything. And it is what it is. And yeah, gonna have to make do. We're gonna take a look at the front line in general down in Ukraine and take a look at more specifically what Russia is trying to achieve uh, around the town of Shakove. So let's take a look. So Andrew Perpetuous map starting off with this is on the 25th. So a couple of days ago, got a bug on the screen. So zooming in, Tetkino. Here you can see how Ukraine is striking Russian positions on the outskirts of Ukrainian held territory on the 25th. And also, if we move over here, you can see here massive Russian artillery strikes towards the eastern parts here of the Sumy battlefield. Ukraine took out Russian artillery pieces in Kursk and also supported a push into Oleksivka. And then if we push ahead to the 26th, you can see here, this is kind of interesting, massive Russian airstrike along this road here out of Zaporizhzhia north to Andriivka, presumably Russia trying to deal with Ukrainian troops pushing in to fortify Andriivka. Ukrainian airstrikes into Kindrakhivka. 27th is bugged for some reason, unfortunately, but we're moving ahead to the 28th. Not much happening at Kino and some minor strikes in and around Sumy. Gonna move down to Kupiansk. Not much happening here since Russia tried to push out to Radkivka, not under Russian control yet. Contested. I think we can assume that it is under Russian control. I think Mayakovsk 73 has it as under Russian control. Yeah, so I think we can safely assume that Russia is in control of these towns, to be honest, Kindrakhivka, Hulubivka, and Radkivka. This is a bit worrisome. We can see here how Russia has pushed past I've talked about this hill here, surrounded by creeks. It's essentially a Ukrainian fortress, and Russia has actually moved past it through Kolesnikivka. And Ukraine has dealt with Russians to the north of this hill with drone strikes. Worrisome if Russia can push past it and isolate this hill. Also a bit worrying since this is an area where we've seen Ukraine having a lot of success of late, and now Russia is counterattacking in this area. That I'm no fan of that. I would like to see Ukraine maintain an initiative here. Beyond that, not much else happening. I mean, the front line down here has basically been this, how long? 1 or 2 weeks. Further proof how difficult it is for Russia to advance. They make some pushes here and there, but then everything slows down. They can't really do anything, and then they have to build up for another push in another week or so, right? So it is it's basically how it's been for the past 2 years. We can see on Andrew's map the push past the hill as well. And if we move down, yeah, this is interesting. If we move down here to the Zaporizhzhia front line, if we move back, remember when I highlighted this on the 23rd, big assault made by Russia, artillery strikes, airstrikes, and I said that that's mostly more than likely indicating a Russian push that will be coming soon. And then if we jump ahead to 25th, we can see it happened. Russia pushed in and tried to push into Kaminsky, but they haven't really made any headway. So when they launched that big assault or that big indirect fire strike, supported by airstrikes, Ukrainians obviously realized something's happening. So they were prepared, and Russia has not managed to achieve a breakthrough, even if they did soften up Ukrainian positions. But yeah, I mean, other than that, no, not much else happening here and there. But we are gonna take a look at, like we said at the beginning, Shakove. Shakove is located right here, and this small town has a couple of vital bridges across the river here. There are some more bridges over here in Zaporizhzhia and Razine, but or somewhere around here you have a couple of bridges across the river. But this is where you have the big bridges, the large bridges that can be used for proper logistics. And as you can see here, massive Russian airstrikes taking place between Russian positions, leading all the way up to Shakove. And I believe here you can see this is on the 26th, 25th. So on the 24th, they began hitting Shakove. 25th, airstrikes into this valley here. And then on the 26th, more airstrikes into the valley. On the 27th, like I said, it's unfortunately bugged this date, but I showed it on my community section. Russia was attacking the valley down here and also directing strikes at targets in Shakove. But let's see what happens now when we move ahead to the 28th. Boom, more airstrikes. I mean, massive concentration of airstrikes aimed at this valley, leading all the way up to Shakove. So, I mean, Russia has now for a week bombarded relentlessly the Ukrainians here, defending this valley between the Russian positions and Shakove. I think it's quite clear that Russia wants to push through and reach Shakove and reach these important bridges. Look here. Here we go. See, 1, 2, 3 bridges essentially here at Shakove, or 4 if you count this one as well. So 4 bridges in total at Shakove, and Russia wants these 4 bridges for themselves and also to secure them so Ukraine can utilize them for logistical purposes. How long have I been talking about Shakove and the logistics coming through here? Months and months and months, right? Ukraine can bring in logistics through Shakove to come in north of Pokrovsk and down into Pokrovsk. So if Russia can push up to Shakove, they cut this supply line, reducing the amount of logistics leading into Pokrovsk. They've already come down here. You can see here they've cut 1 and 2. There are some other roads in the area as well. So 2 or 3 good solid roads, logistical routes in this area that Russia's cut off for the Ukrainians. You have another one coming through Shakove that Russia is now pushing up to cut. That leaves basically this supply line here and this supply line here. There's another one coming down through Shina as well. If you zoom in and take a look, yeah, here you can see it, right? So Russia is steadily moving in to cut supply lines leading into Pokrovsk, right? And if they can reach Shakove or any of the smaller bridges along the river here, let's see if I can show you that river. Come on! What happened now? Jesus Christ, this is not going to plan. Nope, that did not go as intended, so sorry. But there's a river and a bunch of bridges. Now, if they can reach all of these bridges and get across the river, Russia will more than likely try and push west to reach Vilutske and this supply route. And in so doing, they have basically denied all supplies leading into Pokrovsk and Mirnorad over here. And at that point, Russia will more than likely push into town to try and take the cities. And like I said before, I don't know how long now. I don't. People they keep talking about Constantinople, and I don't understand why. I mean, they haven't pushed through Chasiv Yar. They haven't been able to push out from Toretsk, and yeah, they're pushing this way, but it's hard. I mean, there was a big attack. When was it? A couple of days ago, a week ago, was it? How far back was it? Jesus. When? Here we go, on the 17th. Big mechanized assault up the road here. I read that there was something like 20 Russian vehicles. And where was I going with this? What they want to do is come up on the high ground. This is a massive hill over here north of the river, to dislodge the Ukrainians on the high ground that are looking down on Russian positions. So what happens? They push up, and then on the 21st, a couple of days later, they have now dislodged Ukrainians. They can now push into town with the drone assistance, and some more shenanigans on the 23rd. And on the 26th, they try to expand. I mean, as you can see, it's really slow going for Russians. Constantinople is not the main vector for approach here, or a vector for attack. They're not pushing massively in Chasiv Yar. They're not leaving Toretsk, and they're not pushing into Yablonivka, right? This is where they're pushing. Straight for Shakove, to cut supplies and come in north and cut more supplies north of Pokrovsk. And like I've said multiple times as well, when they're pushing out south and east of town, that gives them more territory to position artillery, so that they can reach further in behind Pokrovsk and reach supply lines leading in, targeting supply depots and what have you. And they can also more readily support the troops by hammering Pokrovsk and Myrnra with artillery. And they can spread out the artillery, so it's harder, more difficult for the Ukrainians to locate the Russian artillery pieces and destroy them with counter battery. And Russia is also securing supply lines, supply routes. And when they're coming out here through Donetsk, Shakove into Andriivka, they really need to secure Bahatir and Oleksivka to push Ukraine away from this pocket, so that they can bring in logistics along this main highway here to move things at speed, at volume, to Andriivka. And from here they can then begin to move along country roads to avoid drones and what have you. But they still need to move things as fast as possible, as quick as possible, in massive volumes, and they can do that along the highway to Andriivka. And if they can push Ukraine away from here, they can have a supply hub here and then portion it out along the safer dirt roads and country roads. Same thing here, moving up this way to Selidove. Use Selidove as a supply hub, where you can move things in bulk, in volume, to Selidove, and then start portioning things out to the front line. Same thing here, move through Avdiivka. There's a road to Oksyrotyne, and from Oksyrotyne you can follow the roads to the front line. Use country roads to portion everything out to the soldiers on the front line, with less risk of getting hit by Ukrainian drones. So Russia is continuously setting the stage for the assault on Pokrovsk, pushing the Ukrainians back to provide more territory and more space to spread out artillery, to safely move logistics, and to give the infantry a chance to eventually, when Russia has pushed out to the river here, the Solona River, and they can begin spreading out artillery, when they can move logistics more safely, then they can have the proper support to punch through Kotlina and Udachne and come up to the west of Pokrovsk and pushing forth Ryshina. There's another river here, as you can see here. But they can push up through Kotlina with artillery support and reach this supply line. And same thing here, really, coming up between Konstantinivka and Pokrovsk gives Russia positions for artillery that can support a push for Russian forces coming north of Pokrovsk. And I mean, we can also see the amount of airstrikes Russia can muster when they really want it. So by pushing Ukraine back, that opens up corridors for Russian aircraft to move in close to the front line and make these attack runs. So that Russia can attack here now. They will probably in the future do airstrikes over here, as well as on Pokrovsk and Myrnorod once Russian troops push into town. So yeah, we're basically seeing what we've been talking about on the channel for a very long time. Russia wants to reach Shakove, they want the bridges, and they're going to cut logistics by taking the bridges, and then they're going to try and push across and push towards this important main supply line coming in from the north. Everything is about Pokrovsk at the moment. I'm going to stick with my guns, forget Konstantinivka. Russia knows that they can't fight in multiple cities at the same time. They barely have manpower to fight in one of these cities, so they're not going to make a push for two of them. They are on the outskirts of Pokrovsk, as we can see here, Sverova. Russia is already inside the suburbs of Pokrovsk. Why would they redirect to Konstantinivka? Makes no sense. Their focus is Pokrovsk. They want to come in around and cut logistics. They are in the suburbs of Pokrovsk. They're gonna make a move into Pokrovsk once they have reduced logistics available to the town or to the cities. Guaranteed. I'm sticking with my guns. It's my prediction. So we'll see if I'm right or not, but seems likely, doesn't it, that this is where Russia wants to move. Otherwise, what's happening here for the past week? Why is Russia trying to open up this valley to allow Russian forces to move through towards Shakove, right? So yeah, this push through here, Shakove has always been the objective, the main objective. They've pushed out on the flanks to secure the flanks, to deny Ukraine a chance to close the gap. But that's about it. Konstantinivka is not where Russia wants to fight. They pushed hard for well over a year after they took Avdiivka to come this far to reach Pokrovsk. They're not going to redirect it. They're going to keep pushing until they have Pokrovsk. Like I said, the Ukrainians are well aware, and I said this before, Ukraine is more than likely planning on having a massive fight with the Russians in Pokrovsk and Myrnorod. And if Russia commits prematurely into this fight here, Myrnorod and Pokrovsk, Ukraine stands a very good chance of crushing the Russian army in this hellhole that Pokrovsk and Myrnorod will become. So we're gonna talk about this again. Russia has, in 2 years' time, secured 1% of Ukrainian territory, and it has cost them 800,000 troops to do so. So 0.5% per year, and if they enter a city or twin city like Pokrovsk and Myrnorod, that will drain Russian resources to such a massive extent that they won't be able to advance anywhere else. Everything will be focused to pushing into Pokrovsk and Myrnorod. The general advance across the front line will slow down because everything will be redirected to fight here. And that means that if Ukraine can hold out here, that means they can grind down the Russian army until it is no longer capable of sustaining a larger push across the front line in general, especially if you combine it with the fact that Russia has some 50 to 60,000 troops in Kursk ready to trying to push into Sumy Oblast, where Ukraine also is pushing back, having trapped the Russians in a massive kill zone. Of course, we have rumors that Russia is getting more troops from North Korea. Nothing to sneer at. If they can put in another 10, 20,000 here in Kursk, it will go a long way. There's also rumors that they're making deals with the Taliban in Afghanistan. I mean, what more proof do you want that Russia and the others are part of an axis of evil? You have Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, and now the goddamn fucking Taliban. Is that not the axis of evil? I don't know what is. Jesus Christ. Yeah, so if the North Koreans show up with troops, that might allow Russia to redirect troops from Kursk down to help out down here in Pokrovsk. But yeah, it's Russia. They really do need to cut as many supply lines as possible in Pokrovsk. Otherwise, this twin city here, Pokrovsk and Mirnorad, could actually spell certain doom for the Russians. At Bakhmut, Russia lost 80,000 casualties, dead and wounded, and those are Russian figures. So, I mean, you can just imagine what will happen here in Pokrovsk and Mirnorad. It's going to be more than likely a lot more dead and wounded Russians than at Bakhmut, unless Russia can push in and cut these supply lines and deny Ukraine to mount a proper defense. And yes, I am well aware that the audio quality is what it is, so sorry for that. Anyway, that's gonna have to be it. I hope you still found it interesting and that I will maybe see you in the next one. As always, go på marsch Ukraine and give them hell.